Quick overview. The forecast so far has been sort of playing out as expected. We did have that snow, sleet, and freezing rain last night, creating some hazardous road conditions. Now we enter the next phase here where we've got extremely cold weather, cold air mass in place, Arctic air, and we're heading into a record cold night tonight. We're looking at temperatures today staying mostly in the teens, with wind chill indices near zero. And then tonight's temperatures will drop to near zero northwest zones, around 10 greater Houston, and then teens even down to Galveston. We do have that continued risk of burst pipes, damaged infrastructure. Of course, we've already had some power outages, so a lot of concerns over the next 24 hours, certainly, and beyond. Risk of hypothermia as well, concern for people without heat and power. A lot of questions: when will it melt? Temperatures will stay below freezing for our northern zones until Friday, most likely. From Houston and points south, we may see temperatures rise a little bit above freezing on Wednesday, but it will still be cold, and so would expect very little melting until temperatures rise above freezing. Now, one thing we've seen today, some areas have had some good sun, and there's been, and with the wind, there has been a little bit of melting, even today, even with temperatures well below freezing. So that kind of thing can occur as well. Keep in mind, though, any water this afternoon refreezes as the sun goes down tonight. So icy patches, even in areas that have had some melting, we would expect icy patches to develop again, potentially very dangerous, more of a black ice kind of thing. So let's not let our guard down. The next storm Wednesday will bring a round of rain and maybe even some thunder over the southern zones. Freezing rain in the north. The dividing line between rain and freezing rain is going to depend on that surface temperature, and that dividing line is a little bit uncertain. But most of the freezing rain and ice with the next system looks to be in the northern half of the area, mainly north of I-10, with more icing as you get well to the north. Here's a look at the current temperatures within the last hour. You see a lot of teens on the board there. Coldest area looks to be up in the northwest, where we're looking at temperatures more in the 10 to 13 degree range. And then, certainly not warm in Galveston by any means, lower 20s there. We have actually had a little bit of snow flurry activity. I don't know if you all can see this. We've had some sunny breaks, and we have some cloud bands you can see streaming over southeast Texas. Some of those bands contain snow flurries. So some of this activity, you can actually see these little dark spots in Texas. These are some of the warm lakes. And you can see it's interesting how those bands are sort of originate over the warm water of our bays and lakes. So very unusual, interesting thing going on today. Giving us some sunny weather, but also some snow bands, honestly, more light snow and flurries. Looking at the watch, warning, and advisory map, we have every type of winter-related warning or watch in many areas, including your wind chill warnings, your hard freeze warnings, your winter storm warnings where we have precipitation. And so this map is going to change, especially as we start addressing the next storm. So I wouldn't get hung up on the hazard map here. Just remember, we have many winter hazards that we've been talking about: the extreme cold, the hard freeze, and those impacts and the dangers that go with them. And then the next round of freezing rain and ice, especially for the northern counties, but potentially even down to the I-10 area. We do have a gale warning now for the coastal waters, low water advisory. Tides are running very low with the offshore flow, and that can impact navigation. So just a lot going on right now. The low temperature forecast here, we've been showing this the last several days, and it's trended down a little bit, it seems, each day. Right now, the forecast is for low temperatures near zero for Bryan College Station over to Madisonville, and closer to 10 degrees for greater Houston area, teens as you get closer to the coast. The wind chill temperature is already running near or even a little below zero, and that's going to continue through tonight and Tuesday morning. You can see the plot there. These darker purple areas, those are all below zero wind chills. You can see some sample points here, -8, -9. So just bitterly cold, dangerously cold, certainly, if you've got anyone outdoors or not dressed appropriately for any length of time. This is very, very dangerous. And even down to Galveston Island, look at that wind chill of 3 degrees where the winds are stronger. So just very, very dangerous. Looking ahead now to this Wednesday system that we've been talking about, we do have a forecast here which gives a pretty good idea of the areas we're most concerned about. All the areas in yellow, and that includes I-10 corridor, we think could have a little bit of freezing rain, especially at the start of the precipitation, especially if it comes in late Tuesday night, for example. And so that's why you see areas, even Houston over to San Antonio, included in this map. And then as you get further north to Bryan and Huntsville, now we're in that 1/10 to quarter-inch zone of freezing rain and ice. And, you know, that can have impacts like we saw last night. Really, any of these areas that this could recreate icy road conditions for a period of time. And then as you get farther north up into Houston County and Trinity County, now we're looking at potential for greater than a quarter-inch, and that's where we start to see more widespread power outages. So kind of unbelievably, we have a second winter storm. It's not quite as cold everywhere with the next storm, and because of that, the southern coastal counties look to be more rain with this next system. But keep in mind, even as we get into mid to late week, nighttime lows, even for the southern counties, are tending to drop below freezing. So even if this were rain in the coastal counties on Wednesday night, dropping back below freezing. So there could be iciness from that. The website I've been pushing last week, this Forecast Points website, actually is sort of down today. Wasn't able to get an update. Perhaps it's getting a lot of hits, but for whatever reason. So what I did is I went to weather.gov/Houston, clicked on the point of interest on the map, and you can get an hourly forecast that way as well. And so if you look at Bryan College Station here, this is temperature and wind chill every hour starting this afternoon. And you can see what we've been talking about. That drop with the air temperature, and we're talking about the actual temperature, down to near zero, with the wind chill gliding down to -7, -8. So just extremely frigid conditions. Chance of precipitation pretty much zero until we get to Tuesday night. And notice, say midnight Tuesday night and during the early morning hours Wednesday, our chance of precipitation goes up to 60 to 70%. So we could see that freezing rain, and you can see these pink bars here indicate the freezing rain potential could come into Bryan College Station as early as midnight Tuesday night. And then that freezing rain continues as we go through the day Wednesday. So another another ice event for Bryan College Station over to Huntsville and in many of our northern zones. For Houston Harris, similar, very cold here right now in the upper teens. We're going to drop from there down to perhaps even high single digits overnight with wind chills trending down to near zero. And then on Tuesday, after a very, very cold start, temperatures rising up into the upper 20s to near 30. So we're not really looking at getting above freezing tomorrow either. Certainly will be higher than today, though. So small consolation there. But Tuesday night dropping a little bit again. And then we have the precipitation coming back in Tuesday night and Wednesday. There's no, as we talked about before, it's possible, even though it's indicated as rain here, it's going to be very sensitive to these temperatures, which are going to be right around freezing at the onset of precipitation. So we certainly could see a little bit of freezing rain, especially at the start, late Tuesday night and early Wednesday. So we have to watch out for that. We are looking at a warming trend starting Friday into the weekend. Highs in the 40s on Friday, and then 60s Saturday and Sunday. So that's something to look forward to, but a cold week before then. Galveston, a lot of the same information, just extremely cold tonight. You can see the wind chill index getting down near 0 there as well, even though the air temperatures are not quite as cold, but still extremely cold in the upper teens here. And when you combine that with these strong winds, which will continue tonight on the island, we get these wind chills down near 0. Just very, very dangerously cold conditions. One thing we see here that's a little different is we start to see a little bit of moderating temperatures Tuesday night ahead of this next system. So for Galveston, this next storm should be an all rain event. Here's a snapshot just of a couple times for both the GFS model and the European model, giving you an idea of where the models think that the freezing rain will be, which is what this red area is here. And you can kind of see, if you look at I-10, by 9 a.m. Wednesday, this particular model, which can change, has mainly plain old rain for I-10, but with freezing rain further north. And what I don't show here, though, is the early morning hours, Wednesday, more Tuesday night. If you were to take a snapshot then, that freezing rain would be a little bit farther south. So you get the picture here. The model's thinking perhaps a little bit of at least light freezing rain before a transition to rain for that I-10 corridor, and then a longer period of all ice and freezing rain further north. So here's the snapshot at 9 a.m. and then you can see at 3 p.m. This model is taking the precip east. European model, not too different. Here we're looking at 6 a.m. In the European model. This model is relatively warm. It actually has sort of an onset of rain, even for Houston, and then ice north. And you can see that transitions out of the area Wednesday afternoon. So similar, but the key point here is the southern edge of that freezing rain transition zone is a little bit tough to call right now. And even along the I-10 corridor, we're not really out of the woods. A quick look at some of the marine hazards. This is from a briefing to the Coast Guard this morning, so more of a matrix type format. But we do have that gale warning in effect this afternoon with elevated winds and seas all the way through Thursday. There are some snow showers possible in bands. This is kind of analogous to like a lake effect snow that we get in the Great Lakes as we have this very cold air passing over what still is fairly warm coastal waters. So you may, if you're out offshore, you may actually run into some of these snow showers. Freezing spray is a bit of a threat through Tuesday afternoon, given how cold the air mass is. Low water conditions in the northern bays, given that strong offshore flow, and just overall dangerous sub-freezing weather. So if you're out in the elements, you just have to really be dressed for it. Stay wrapped in layers, stay dry, and so on. So just kind of more of a repeat from the overview slide. The main things we're concerned about: life-threatening cold today through tomorrow morning especially, but then remaining quite cold through the week for the most part. As far as melting, it's a complicated process. Like I say, even with sunshine and wind, a drying wind, you can have some improvement even with the cold temperatures we're having today. But you have to remember, once the sun goes down, you get a refreeze of any areas that have had a little bit of melt. So certainly icy patches, icy conditions expected, through tomorrow morning. And then we have that next system coming in Wednesday with mainly freezing rain north, mainly rain coastal, and then that transition zone a little bit to be determined in between, let's say along that I-10 corridor. But it does look like the greatest icing threat seems to be well north of I-10. So we will continue these briefings through at least Wednesday. So the invite we've had out has applied to the last four. For those on the live webinar list, we will be